If you're a senior still doing crunches and sit-ups for your core, stop. As a physical therapist, I've seen countless patients who are trying to do the right thing for their bodies, doing these core exercises and winding up not fitter and stronger, but injured and frustrated. Now, these folks aren't the 77% of Americans who aren't exercising. These are the 23%, the ones who actually care enough about their bodies to do something about it. And they've been misled by the fitness industry to think that endless crunches and sit-ups are the answer to building a strong, healthy core. Over the past decade, being an orthopedic physical therapist, and even longer than that as a personal trainer, I've had the privilege of working with thousands of seniors who want to build strong, healthy bodies. And I've seen what the research says and practical experience says works for building a strong core and what doesn't. So in today's video, we're gonna talk about what the heck the core actually is. What research says about core strength, like is it actually important for the things you care about? And then third, we're gonna talk about which core exercises activate the core muscles the best. If you wanna stop spinning your wheels and wasting your time, stick around, because this video could change the way you think about core training forever. Do you remember the 90s fitness craze? Back in 1995, a fitness instructor named Jamie Brinkus introduced the world to a revolutionary concept that he called 8-minute abs. The premise was simple. You can build a chiseled midsection in just 8 minutes a day. This video was filmed on a breezy North Carolina lawn, and the VHS sensation sold over $20 million worth of tapes in its first 18 months and became a full-blown cultural phenomena, even showing up in the movie There's Something About Mary.
You heard of this thing, the 8-minute abs?
Yeah, sure, 8-minute abs. Yeah, the exercise video. Uh-huh.
Yeah, well, this is gonna blow that right out of the water. Listen to this. 7-minute abs.
Right, yes. Okay, all right, I see where you're going.
But while catchy slogans and trendy fitness videos come and go, a real strong core, the kind that protects your spine, that improves your balance, and that keeps you active into your 7th, 8th, even 9th decade of life, is about more than just how your stomach looks. Which leads us to an important question: what exactly is the core? And I'll let you in on a little secret. It's not just having six-pack abs. In fact, it's so much more than that. When people think of the core, they often picture the six-pack abs or the rectus abdominis. However, that's just one muscle of many that we're gonna get into that comprise the core. One of the problems with defining the core muscles is just that, they're not defined. There's no definition of what it means to be a core muscle necessarily. However, I would define it as the muscles between your respiratory diaphragm at the bottom of your rib cage and your pelvic diaphragm at the bottom of your pelvis. All the muscles in between there, all the way around your spine, are your core muscles. So indeed, you have your rectus abdominis, but you also have your transversus abdominis, which forms a corset around your middle. You have your internal and external obliques, muscles that wrap around the sides of your abdomen and aid in resisting rotation and bending side to side. You have your multifidi, muscles that run up and down your spine that help with stability between spinal vertebrae. You have your erector spinae, muscles that help with postural support and holding you upright in a good position. You have your pelvic floor muscles, which aid in stability and support for our organs. And then finally, you have your respiratory diaphragm, a powerful breathing muscle that also helps to maintain intra-abdominal pressure. The core is designed for proper breathing, for stability of your spine, and for transferring power through your limbs. But that's only part of the story. Research by Hodges in 1996 showed that the core muscles function like nature's weight belt, providing stability and support for our spine when it's under load. Rather than producing large movements, the function of the core is more for resisting motion. A study by McGill in 2010 and other years shows that core stiffness is actually a really important predictor in how likely you are to have back pain. In other words, the stiffer your core is, the stronger it is, the less likely you are to report having back pain. In other words, the core isn't just the six-pack. It's your spine's bodyguard, your internal transmission system, and your pressure regulator, all wrapped up into one functioning system. And if you're wondering if having a strong core actually translates into an impact for you, The research says yes. The core has an important function in reducing the risk of low back pain. A study done on 300 naval recruits going through the training part of the academy had half of them do core-specific exercises in addition to their normal training, and the other half just do the normal training. What they found was that those who underwent the core-specific exercises were 50% less likely to report back pain throughout the study. Later on, we're going to talk about very similar exercises to what was done in the study that can help you build a strong lower back. Core and stability training has also been shown to be effective in improving balance and reducing falls in older adults in numerous studies. And finally, a study in Medicine and Science and Sports and Exercise followed over 8,000 adults and found that core strength was an important predictor of longevity. However, to be honest, as I read through all this research, I found myself thinking the results and the impact of all these studies from core training seem very similar to other forms of exercise, like strength training in general. And I've seen that you can get very similar results from strength training as you can from core training. So I think if you had to pick one, I would recommend that people choose strength training in general with big full body movements like deadlift, squats, overhead press, as opposed to core specific exercises. But thankfully, we don't have to pick. We can do both. So in the next part of the video, we're going to talk about what the research says are the best exercises for activating each of the different core muscles that we talked about earlier. As I scoured the research and looked for which exercises activated the core the best, I kept coming across EMG studies, and all of them were slightly different in terms of how they were measuring muscle activity. EMG is essentially a way to measure the electrical signal coming from muscles as they're working, and it shows us how hard a muscle is working with a different exercise. And then one day I came across this large-scale systematic review that looked at 67 different core exercise studies that specifically measured the EMG output across different muscles. And it compared and ranked all of these different exercises, hundreds of exercises, with their EMG measurement across the different muscles. And so I'm gonna give you the breakdown, the simplified version of this for each of the muscles in the core, which exercise actually worked the best. And then we've put some of these exercises together in a 10-minute core workout video that you can check out so you can start doing this today. First up is the rectus abdominis. This is the Instagram influencer of the core. But if it's not backed up by the deep stabilizers of the spine, it's all show and no go. The best exercise that's been found to activate the rectus abdominis is the barbell back squat. It does a better job than any other of turning on the muscles in the front of your abs and making them work. Better yet, it does it in a way that's functional. Like sit-ups, people don't do sit-ups as a part of life very often, unless they are like the getting up from completely laying on their back on the ground. But squatting is something we do multiple times throughout the day. So building your abs through a functional movement that you actually use in life is gonna be really effective for you. Another fantastic rectus abdominis activation exercise is the rollout plank, or you can do a TRX plank where your feet are suspended. So with either of these, the rollout, you've got to keep your body rigid and the rectus has to work really hard to do that. And then with the TRX plank, it's unstable at the feet. So again, the lack of stability forces the rectus to work hard to maintain rigidity of the spine. Next up is the internal oblique. If the rectus abdominis is the celebrity on stage, the internal oblique is the bodyguard backstage, protecting it and making sure that it's safe. The most effective exercise for activating the internal obliques, according to the literature, was a front plank with scapular adduction and a posterior pelvic tilt. They're very specific on this. So I'm gonna show you guys exactly how to do this. Other exercises that activate the internal obliques are things like the bird dog and even laughing. Yes, laughing, especially at the climax of your laughter when you're laughing the most, it activates those muscles the best. So have a laugh. Ha ha ha. The external obliques are like the offensive linemen of your core, big, strong, and they stop twisting in its tracks. Top exercises for the external obliques are the Bulgarian split squat, a standing single arm overhead press, and an exercise called stir the pot, which you can do on a stability ball. The erector spinae are like the scaffolding that hold up your spine. Ignore these muscles and your spine is going to be weak over time. Top exercise according to research, yes, the deadlift. The back extension and single leg back extension were also really effective for activating the erector spinae. Next up, we have the lumbar multifidi. These are like the shy, quiet kid in class who turns out to be a ninja. These muscles are crucial for stabilizing your spine in between segments. I remember dissecting cadavers in graduate school and being blown away by how many muscles we had that connected just one vertebrae to the next. These are the lumbar multifidi, and there are many, many, many of them in your spine holding you up right now. The best exercise for activating these little ninjas: prone trunk extensions, front planks on a stability ball with hip extension, and then finally, my favorite, the squats and the deadlifts. Finally, we have the transversus abdominis. Trying to find the transversus abdominis in research studies is a bit like trying to find Where's Waldo in a book, except for he's wearing camouflage, the page is completely camouflaged, and oh yeah, he's hiding under a tarp of other muscles. The research study that seemed to activate the transversus the best was this strange sling setup that looks more like a torture device to me than a workout machine. So we've got one of these in the back. Come on over, we're gonna strap you up to it, and but don't worry, in the study they used lasers. So there you have it. Real core training for seniors isn't about doing endless crunches or sit-ups. It's really about doing the foundational barbell movement, squats, deadlifts, and overhead presses, and then mixing in these other exercises that we talked about as a way to augment your traditional normal strength training. So train smart, stay strong, move better. Your core and your future self will thank you. If you found this video helpful, make sure to like, subscribe, and heck, even share it with somebody who's still doing 8-minute abs in their living room like it's 1995. Until next time, stay strong, my friends. I'm Dr. Matt.